Hello and welcome to another trailer breakdown video, this time looking into the patch 4.5 trailer that came out today, the 21st of December. The trailer kicks off in the Grimlit Dark, which is a new dungeon as part of the main scenario in 4.5, featuring the full fiery and bloody battle between the various Eorzea Alliance members and popular characters against a plethora of flight and terrain-grounded Magitech units and Garlean soldiers. We see Lys, Hien and Yugiri not faring very well in their respective fights, and you can even see Aymeric from Ishgard getting stuck in as well. The whole gang's here trying to fight for liberty. The whole theme here is the last battle for Stormblood, and Yoshi P even described it as such during the live letter itself. Various people's voices are heard during the trailer, overdubbed throughout its duration, the first of which is the mysterious person from perhaps another world that we heard previously in the 4.45 content, when, if you remember, certain scions of the Seventh Dawn were knocked unconscious, so to speak, and that voice was filling our collective minds. The light will expunge all life, only you can forestall the calamity. Beyond the something, throw wide the gates. So that's very ominous, and previously would point me towards Zodiac, but I'm not entirely sure anymore, and I'll tell you why in just a little bit. We also get a backing voice from what appears to be a soldier or a general, definitely Alamegan descent with his accent, that says Lord Hien and Commander Hext have taken their troops to provide support, though we don't know how long they can hold out. So further details on how tough that battle is going to be. Next up, we see a fairly unself-explanatory scene with the man in white there talking in the Imperial Palace to the Emperor, and no context is really given or hinted at in that scene before it switches into a transition straight into Blue Mage content inside what appears to be Stone Vigil or Stone Vigil Hard, with a series of Blue Mages trying to learn abilities from the dragon people inside there, so that's interesting. Next up, we actually see the middle section of Eureka, because we'll be going there in Eureka High Dartos in March's update, which will be 4.5.5, I believe, which is the part 2 of 4.5, where we get Eureka High Dartos, and yeah, it looks pretty cool. There's a female voice that's presumably Kryle's overdubbed on the trailer that says, "This doesn't make sense. How is it even possible?" Presumably unveiling the final chapter storyline and bringing a conclusion to that storyline, which is supposed to be quite interesting and has public raids, but we'll have to wait and see for more info on that. The playback speed is going to be messed around with quite a bit on this next section, because they sort of have lots of small segments shoved in here and lots of long segments as well. The first we see is actually of some blue mages fighting in, let me see, is that Wanderer's Palace? Something like that. And then we switch to a completely different scene. And in said scene, if you've noticed this, there was a slight clip before. They're inside the Obon Monastery now, fighting one of the bosses. This big sort of polygonal creature is very similar to Ozma in appearance, in my opinion. But yeah, that's definitely from the Alliance raid, which will be coming in part 1 on January the 8th, so look forward to that. It looks very cool, but we don't get too much of a spoiler towards that just yet. And then we have a small snippet showing Solus Sosgalvus talking, and he says, "You of all people should understand," but it cuts off before we see who he's exactly talking to. But it's clear that things are not well in Garlemald, not all is peachy. And then, after a fairly lengthy fade to black and fade from black, we see the current Emperor himself approach a table where Nanamo and Raban are seemingly awaiting an audience with the Emperor, and he speaks. He says, "My goal is this, to return the world to the way it once was, the way it was always meant to be. In doing so, mankind will be made whole once more. No longer will we suffer from the dissension of our differences." Now, of course, it's a lot better paced when he says it himself, and there's little clips in between that, but it's interesting to see, is the Emperor here being legitimate, or is he still under the guise of the Ascians? I really have no idea. I'd like to think that he's a goodie, but yeah, they always try and get you with these sorts of moral dilemmas. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm thinking he's being legitimate here, but who knows, especially when somebody like that has been a puppet for so long, with people above him controlling his every move. So yeah, we'll see. So this next set of scenes are from the Obon Monastery, the new 4.5 Alliance raid in the Return to Ivalice series, looking very cool. We actually see some clips there of what appears to be Alma being sucked into this sort of puddle thing. I don't really know what's going on, and obviously it's hard to get any context behind this without seeing it in the game. But everyone looks pretty agitated in the storyline. It's going to be really interesting to see where this storyline goes. We do see some of the actual fights, especially against this sort of robotic sniper robot, which looks amazing. That has its own introduction as well past the actual fight scene, where it's sort of teleports to a distance and then tries to snipe the entire Alliance party, which is pretty cool. And then we see this, which is clearly Thran's Fies. I've never been more happy to see Thran's Fies in all of my life. I absolutely loved Final Fantasy XII, and to see a main character immortalized in 14 from that game is going to be pretty epic. I will definitely not be skipping this cutscene no matter how many people require it. So yeah, it's definitely Thran. Another hint towards the Vieira race, which is pretty much confirmed at this point. As to the role Thran will play, probably just as sassy and amazing. Hopefully she's fully voice acted, because that's going to be exciting, especially if it's the same voice actress from the North American dub. But we'll have to hope and wait and see. But fingers crossed. Next up we have the Emperor again, concluding that discussion that I've already talked about, and then after a few more fades to black and from, we finally see the penultimate battle with the Warrior of Light as Samurai facing off against none other than Xenos Galvis, or at least the reanimated Asian version of which there is some voiceover from the mysterious voice from before that says, "Win or lose, the path you walk only leads into oblivion." And this is very similar to what we saw on the Shadowbringers teaser trailer, so no doubt they'll be including some of that footage in this. But yeah, who knows what's going to happen after this battle? Maybe the whole world falls to light. We'll have to wait and see. The next scene, the music is kicked up an entire notch with a new Sai Youth theme from a new Four Lords trial coming in 4.5, and it's looking absolutely amazing. There's a little bit of voiceover from the fight here, and it says, if I can hear it correctly, "If I must forsake myself to keep my oath, then so be it." A load of other battle cries as well from the actual fight. It looks very cool, and it shows off a lot of the fight mechanics, including sort of like this tidal wave of serpents, which looks just incredible, really. I can't wait to give this one a try, and it obviously has that new dog mount, and you can also get the Nine Tails sort of Kinko fox mount if you collect all of the dogs, so expect to see this in Party Finder very shortly. I wish I could actually share with you the music from this, but obviously I cannot do that because of copyright, but it's pretty damn amazing. You want to go and watch the trailer just for that, in my opinion. They have certainly not let down that side of things this time around. Another fade occurs, and then we see the Garlean flag floating there in the grimlit dark. Loads of soldiers preparing for battle, and the Emperor there talking to Xenos, and Xenos walking off in the distance. And we see more of the battlefield. It's all hotting up. And then we finally see this scene with the proposed Garlean that we saw before that helped out Alphino during the Black Rose storyline. I mean, I'm still going to say this is Gaius Van Belsar. I really think it is, and I hope it is, because there is some voice acting to go with this character now. And he says, "As long as their kind lurked in the shadows, labouring to sow chaos in our world, I would see each and every one dragged into the light and put to the sword." Which is obviously something you would expect to hear from Gaius after the whole situation with Laha Brea in Castrum Praetorium, if you remember back. So yeah, I'm really excited to see this character actually be named Gaius, if it is indeed Gaius, which obviously it is, but yeah, we'll see. And now we're coming up on the last few scenes of the trailer, showing some Alamegan troops falling in battle, Hien and Yugiri making a last stand, and the Warrior of Light as Samurai using all of the strength he has to fight back as many Garleans as possible. We also see some very interesting characters here, Garlean soldiers, which are presumably going to be probably bosses within there, and then we switch straight to Alice, who is being held back by Hien, who simply shouts, "Let me go, he has my brother," as Hien is holding her back, so presumably there's more storyline unveiling of exactly where Alphino's body is going to be, considering we all believe that he has been consumed by the same thing that's taken Y'shtola and the rest in their sort of unconscious state with no soul, or whatever you want to describe it as. We then see Solus in this sort of experimental chamber, which is a little bit ominous, and that's only for a split second before we transition to more footage of what appears to be the Alliance raid. and one of the bosses within. We then see a sort of quick hit of Lys fighting against 2 Garlean soldiers, which again look a little bit like Livia Sasjunis, or at least the same armor that Livia was using in the level 50 main storyline Castrum dungeons. We then see Lhian sort of coming to terms with things, another scene of Solace walking towards his throne with no real context, and then we see Alice and Warrior of Light trying to touch hands as we fade to this banner for 4.5, A Requiem for Heroes. During this time, the mysterious voice from before simply says, "We will throw wide the gates, you will be the capstone of this world, I, anchor and shard, and together we will give light to this star's fraudulent existence." It's very similar to when we were collecting crystals for Hydaelyn. If you want to read into this, you could probably say that this is Zodiac, or this could be the mysterious figure from another world, and the only way to expose Hydaelyn for these sort of obvious mistruths that have been told is to sort of combine the worlds or something. There is a last scene showing Hydaelyn in crystal form though, sort of giving you the idea that all is not exactly the truth that we've been told so far. And the final slide is to show that part 1 is indeed on January the 8th, and part 2 of this patch will be late March with Eureka. So, in short, the trailer was quite good. Certain parts of it gave me goosebumps along the way, I have to admit. It's very exciting, and it's a very exciting time to be playing Final Fantasy XIV. I cannot wait for the 8th of January. A lot of my questions will hopefully be answered, and yours as well. Let me know what you think about this trailer below, and if there's anything I missed in particular that you want to draw attention to, feel free to comment that as well, and I will certainly pick up on that and reply to you. Thank you kindly for watching this video, and I wish you all a Merry Christmas, and I'll see you all next time.